than
Well, it was
Chelsea.
just... So having worked with the Melbourne Storm, I was in awe of Billy then. And then when you are part of the Stage of Origin squad, you kind of go on the camps and you live with them and you get to know them much better. And a lot of people would ask me what it was like with Billy and with Queensland. And there's quite a few reflections I have on it. But one of the main things I thought was Billy is, and it's going to make you very awkward, but this is how we're going to do this day, Billy. I'm going to talk about you and you can reflect on my reflections on you. So it's not as awkward.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think having worked with a lot of sporting teams, elite sporting teams around the country, a lot of corporate groups, Billy is the most incredible leader I've ever worked with or had the privilege of working alongside. And I have so many stories to support that, but I just want to pick a few today to tell. And then maybe, Billy, you can give us your thoughts on leadership in relation to those stories, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Love it. Let me know if you need me to step in at any point.
So Billy is the head coach. He's come from being, how many series wins did you have as a player?
Yeah, so we went through an incredible run. So I was a part of a team that won 8 series in a row. So for 8 years, we were unbeaten under the coaching of Mel Meninga, who was a Queensland legend, played in the first Queensland ever game, and he came in as a coach of Queensland. And then we lost 2014, but we'd won the next, I think it was 2 or 3. So we'd won 11 out of 12 years, and that was that was an incredible run. But it was also an incredible connection with a group of players that I won't say it won't be done again, because that's what we're trying to achieve now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary run. And then the success you had at the Melbourne Storm as well was just quite incredible. 4 premierships, the Melbourne Storm. You've won fullback of the year how many times?
I don't know.
Okay, lots of times.
When you lose count, it's a lot.
Pretty cool.
So an incredible career, but I want to talk about you as a leader. So let's start with one of the first experiences I had on camp. We were sitting around and quite a few of the players went off to bed, and you were talking to a group of the coaches.
So when you say camp, do you mean like this is leading up to the games?
Yeah.
So we're going to camp for 10 days leading into the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember it was the first camp I'd been to, and the players had gone off to bed. Some of the coaches were chatting about training, and I was new to the groups. I didn't know who some of the assistant coaches were, so I can't remember who it was. But one of the coaches said, I gave some feedback to one of the players today. He didn't take it too well. Billy very quickly said, and I'll never forget this, he said, how many times have you told him how good you think he is? How many times have you stopped him to tell him what he did was really great? How many times have you told him what an amazing player you think he is? Because... And there was a bit of a pause, and whoever it was said, I don't reckon I have at all. And then Billy said, well, I don't reckon you've got the right to tell them what they did wrong. And you said, don't expect a good outcome if you haven't told them how good you think they are. You obviously believe very strongly in your philosophy around giving really positive feedback often. Mm-hmm. Has that been a big part of your coaching or leadership?
It's something that I became conscious of at the back end of my career as a more senior player, and as someone that sort of demanded a lot from our teammates, that if you reward regularly, then when it's time to give some constructive criticism or feedback, it's taken in the right way, because that person who you're talking to is that they know that you're in their corner. You've been a part of their development. You've earned the right to be a leader. I don't know. I don't see myself as a leader. I never set out to be a leader. I suppose I am, like being a senior person and being someone who other people follow, being a coach or a teacher. You know, I suppose you're a leader, but I never set out to be a leader. I've always liked the idea of being a good person and setting a good example. But yeah, in that situation, I've always been a person who sees everything, and it's important to actually pick up on everything. You can't just pick up on the bad things, because then the person doesn't know if you're in their corner or not. So when you've got that credit in the bank, those standards that you're trying to pick up in that player or that person are taken the right way.
So good. Oh.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the time in leadership positions, we feel like it's a big part of our job to give feedback to people. But the word feedback, we straight away think like
negative.
Yeah. So, and we think, well, it's coming from a good place. I'm trying to help them to be better. But I totally agree with you. If the person doesn't feel like there's care there, or you've noticed the good stuff, it just hits a brick wall, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is funny, actually, weirdly, when we all love, well, I imagine we all love getting positive feedback, but when you're in the position where you're in the role to give feedback, you're like, I tend to look out for the things that could be improved, as opposed to spending any time. And I just assume that the person knows that they're doing a good job.
It's funny you say that. Improvement is always looked upon as getting your weaknesses better, right? But you can improve by outlaying your strengths more. So if you've got strengths, bring your strengths. We want more of that. How do we get more of that in our game? How do we get more of that in our team? And then make that infectious within the group. We somehow feel like we want to fix everything. All right, sure, we're not perfect, right? We're the imperfects.
We sure are.
But it's